getting on line, 9:25, 35, 9:35, 35.
All right, so today is vet bag day, and we'll go through my vet bag pocket by pocket and talk about the tools and equipment that are in it and what we use them for. So first thing first, this is a pour-on gun. The way that I have it set up right now is kind of how we use it at the head gate. So more or less, it's a pretty simple design. Fluid in the container goes through the hose, and as you squeeze, it squirts out. So normally we try to do this very effectively, and with that what I mean is from head to toe. A lot of people just go from mid-back to quick squirt. So we try to be doing things the right way is more or less what I'm trying to get at. It's definitely more effective, and it's the proper way to do it if you actually go from head to toe. Now we set this with a dial that's here of how many milliliters we want every time we squeeze. So we set this according to the weight. Like this is probably 22 milliliters per 100 pounds. They're a little bit different. Just make sure you read the instructions when you're using pour-on. It'll last longer and it's more effective. So when you squeeze, it's auto-filling. You'll squeeze, it projects, you let go, and it siphons, it fills itself back up. So you can set this at different settings, like I said. So sometimes it's only here. When we're doing calves, it's only so many milliliters. But we have different tips. Like this tip actually fans out a little bit more. But it'll get down the cerebral, more or less, and gets in the skin. Now, pour-on is a dewormer. It's also for parasitic, so it's like biting lice, sucking lice, things like that. So this is a pour-on gun. And here's probably an older one that we just kind of, I think I've used as parts, but they get a little bit, if you clean them like you're supposed to, they last a lot longer. I'm pretty sure I didn't clean this one as much as I was supposed to, but the O-ring got a little bit dry in it. But we're kind of don't throw away things if we can keep them for parts kind of people. So this is the pour-on gun. Da-da-da-da. Oh. So these are our injection guns. Now the three that I have, these are a little bit different from another one that we like to use, and I'll grab it. But these are the same way. This one holds 50 milliliters, and it goes from 1 to 5 milliliter injection. So same thing, you would actually draw back with the vial in this one, and then you would set it 1 through 5 in the increments that you want to do. So things such as branding, when we are just getting to it and getting after it, they're dragging a calf, you inject this one, put it back in the cool box. As soon as I drag another one, you're going. This is really handy. These are just different styles, different brands. This one is plastic, this one's all metal. More replacement parts for some of these older ones. I like them. They're glass tube versus plastic. But these are just different styles, different brands, all the same concept. Now, depending on what we're giving, whether it's a 5-way or the 7-way, it really depends on if we're giving 2 milliliters or 5 milliliters. So these things come in really, really handy. All right, next let's talk about our tagging guns. The tags and the actual applicators that we use with them. So my favorite, mainly because it's a one-man band half the time, I'm really a big fan of Z-tags. And I'll explain a little bit and the difference. We'll go through a couple of these tags real fast, but Z-tags is a one-piece tag, and it's really nice when you're by yourself because it doesn't really fall off when you're trying to chase a calf or you're getting run over by mom. But more or less, these are identifying tags. If you'll notice, I don't know how good we can see this in the camera, but they are one piece and it's more or less created like a Z. And I will show how we put these on. Now it's pretty smart. This gun is actually pretty smart for the Z-tags. So the difference between this and the other gun that I'll show you here in a minute is when you actually penetrate and squeeze, the lever actually can just flip straight out. So after you squeeze tag, you can pull straight, don't let go, and pull straight. and the needle actually just comes with you, and it's less pulling and ripping on the ear. You have, you know, less accidents. But to load these ones, put the needle straight, put the Z-tag straight on like this, and now it's a little bit of a manipulation, but you're going to take the Z part and just bend this up so this can actually go all the way on. And now it's ready, and you can put this to whatever side you want. From here, this sphere that's on here, the spear, not sphere, definitely not round, it's spear, but it's a chisel point. So whenever you squeeze, punctures the ear, whatever position this is in, you just pull straight, and this would pull straight out. So I like the Z-gun, definitely like the Z-tags, and they stay on. Like I said, when you're running and getting run over and chasing calves, I like it because you don't have multiple pieces you have to worry about losing. Very, very, very nice. Some of the chisels are a little bit different. Like these are more feedlot style, a little bit less price, and we can buy them more in bulk. These are custom orders. The chisels are just a little bit designed different. This one's more sphere chisel. This one is more just chisel point and rigid. Like I said, we color code the best that we can for a reason. It's a little bit easier to identify, so if we have two pastures mix up, or we actually put multiple herds together, we try to identify not only with the numbers but the color codes. Like first year heifers are pink, second year heifers are purple. When we get to mature cow, they get a permanent color, which is blue. But on to the next. So the next are our EID tags. Now these are RFID, so we can actually utilize the wands that we have. Each one of these holds information and it's specific to that animal. Normally we mount the wand over the head gate, so when they walk underneath it, it scans them and we know who's in the chute. Multiple ways to use it in the field, however you like, but that's how we use it. So these EID tags more or less are button tags, and I put one on here just to kind of show you how it works. So it's a two-piece tag. Now take away the EID and think about just identifying tags with numbers or anything else. Like instead of these Z tags, they'll make the tag here and it has a button on the other side. So it would more or less look like this with the tag here. Now that's two pieces, so you running through the pasture and getting run over or getting chased and tripping. To me, have it on good authority that I'm pretty accident prone. So for me, it's not the choice that I like. But for the EIDs, since we have them in the chute when we're doing this, I really like them, the way that it's set up. So very simple. This actually has a nub, more or less. So when this is squeezed, it pierces through the ear, and this will actually wedge past the small point of the ID in here, and then it's permanently fixed. So these numbers here, these yellow EIDs that we have, they have a different color. Depends on if you're doing. Actually, I should clarify. So these style tags right here that are EID, normally when we do the bangs vaccinations for the heifers, the vet puts in bangs ID, and it used to be just orange metal tag, and they're lifetime tags, not to be removed, unlawful. So they're changing, from what I hear, a little bit. It's going to make it somewhat easier on us. So instead of having to pay for the tags when we call the vet for the bangs vac, instead of actually just using those tags, which now they're switching to EIDs instead of the metal tags, but if you actually put in EID tags in your cattle, they can use that number as the bangs number now. So it's a little bit less punctures in the ear, less buying tags, and it's a little bit smarter. I don't know why they haven't done this earlier, but anyway, so these are EID tags. These are lifetime tags, unlawful to remove. Now these are for USDA, and we put in, when to order these tags, you have to have a PID, and that's property ID. I think they call it LID as well for location ID, but more or less you are vouching, saying that that livestock was raised by you at this property. So these numbers go with this property. So each one of these is per cow. Now the good thing about, like I said, is all the record keeping that we do is now electronic, and we kind of get away from the notebook and a little bit of the Excel. So every single thing that goes on with that animal, you know, its birth weight, its wean weight, what pasture it's in, every single thing that we keep for records is now electronically in this device with that animal for life. So when you sell the animal, all that information goes with it. There's a lot of great things about it. But okay, let's talk about the needles and injection sites, and we'll go through that a little bit. So I like to keep with me a variety of everything that I use. So you never know what you're going to need in the moment, so it's best just to keep it all handy. Now, I don't know how well we can see this in the camera, but these are different sizes and different lengths with some test tubes also for blood. So, depending on what you're doing, whether or not you're doing calves, cows, bulls, you're going to need different size needles. Depends on if you're doing IM, intramuscular, intravenous, subcutaneous, if we're drawing blood. So there's a lot of different reasons that you need to know the thickness of the needle and the length of the needle. For instance, you know, like if you're doing subcutaneous, I don't like to use a long needle, which is just under the skin. I don't like to use a long needle. It helps prevent you actually going into the muscle. So I use a little bit shorter needle. On the calves, we like to use 18 gauge. On the cows, we use 16 gauge. But keeping those handy and everything that you need is definitely a benefit. I've found it a benefit. When I'm drawing multiple times in the same bottle, this is a synthetic needle. It's plastic tip, not steel. Myself, they're inexpensive, so after I'm done with them for that day, I trash them. But these are the different sizes, and to kind of give you an idea, we go from this long, literally. This is 14 gauge. So this is very huge, very long. It actually works pretty good for me when I'm trying to do intravenous. Definitely on the bulls anyway, and the cows. So different size, different length. And depending on what you're administering, we'll just forget that I tried to say that word. It depends on what you're trying to give. Depends on what style of gun that you're going to use, whether you're using a syringe or a gun. So earlier when I talked about our injection guns, I was talking about different ways that we mount them, and you can either draw back, such as these. This holds 50 cc's. We can draw, and we know that we have 50 cc's. So depending on if you're doing 2 or 5 at a time, when you set this increment, you got to go back and refill. Now with this style, this is bottle mounting. So the bottle actually mounts above, and it's self-filling. So every time you retract the handle, it takes in another. Now this is actually a preset for 2 mil, but every time that you squeeze and let go, it pulls from the bottle and refills itself until the bottle's out. So I really like these. Now the particular tip that's on this one is a nasal tip, and it's cushioned and soft. However, the diversity of this gun's pretty cool. When you take it off, now we can put a needle. Very, very nice. So when you're doing things that are repetitive, like everybody's getting their annual shots, or we're doing vaccines, you know, once a year vaccines, and these are really handy. Now, some of the vaccines that we use definitely require a certain temperature and being at a certain temperature. Definitely not getting hot and warm. And that's what this wonderful contraption is here. I do know that they have fancy boxes out there that are $300-400 that are vet boxes, but this is homemade and it works great for me. More or less when the medicine is actually drawn in here. Like I said, we need to keep it at a temperature, or at least keep it cool. And that's how this wonderful motor comes in handy. Like I said, it's self-made, but works just fine for what I do. See if we can show this. So the inside is pretty simple. Just the tubes going down, which the cylinders where the guns actually sit in and rest in. And then the rest of that you can fill up with ice, and it keeps it at a great temperature. Perfect temperature for what we need. We've tried it on hot days, really hot days in the 90+ degree weather, and the medicine still stays cold, so I really like it. Cool thing is the way that we made this, you can actually still put the medicine bottles in here as well. Keep them cold whenever you're out, pull the gun out, draw a new load, good to go. So this works out really good. I've used it for years, and it's one of my favorites. The depth is perfect the way that we set it up because the full medicine is in there, and I really like it. But anyways, without getting too into that, some of these other syringes that we have, you know, like 3 milliliter, 5 milliliter, all the way up to 60 milliliter, it really depends on what medicine you're giving. So like LA200, LA300, you're giving them multiple injections. You know, depends on the sickness and how bad, but you're actually going to be giving them a lot of medicine, especially when you use LA200, from like, you know, 30 to 50 milliliters, you know, a session. But one of the other thing is part of that, the knowledge, knowing what needle to use, how to give the shots, whether it's intramuscular, intravenous, subcutaneous, all of that comes into play, knowing that you're not going to give more than 10 cc's per injection site. But like this one is a 60 milliliter. These are something I would use for LA200, or if I'm actually cleaning out a wound, put the iodine in here, and we try to dilute it a little bit. It's just as effective. But that's kind of the big use, or the use for these big syringes. We do try to wash and clean these and identify these, the ones that we know that we're going to use again for like iodine. That way we try to get more use out of them. We don't just throw them away and waste money. But something like this 3 cc, these ones, these are all used in trash, so I'm using them as a display, but this one is perfect for drawing blood. It's 3 cc's, it's just the amount that we would need for the quantity of blood, such as these tubes, these vials that they would go in. These come in really handy. We try to keep these on hand. And another one, like this one's about 5 cc's. So when we're in the field doctoring, this comes in really handy. It's a one-off. It's something we can throw away when we're done. We don't have to carry bulky things in the field, especially horseback, just more weight. But like Draxxin, don't even want to get into that road about Draxxin. But Draxxin, I think, is literally heaven sent. Really expensive, but whew, it is phenomenal. Anyway, so this is a little bit about the injection guns and the needles.